Hi guys. So it's really weird that I'm even filming this right now for two reasons. One, the fact that I'm making a video, making a vlog is weird because it's something I've never done before. And two, the content of this video is somewhat heavy and exciting and crazy, and it's kind of crazy that it's happening. Obviously I am unkept today. This is how my hair looks when I wake up in the morning, and I was able to put some blush on, but other than that, this is what I look like most of the time, sometimes worse. And I figured if I'm going to continue doing these videos, there's no sense in starting it off with anything other than what it's going to look like on a consistent basis. Anyways, I'm not really sure where to start. I guess a few years ago, or a while ago, in my older teen years, I always knew that I wanted to be a mom. And I knew I wanted to be a wife. I knew ideally I would stay home with my kids when I had them. But at that age, in your teenage years, you're told that you need to figure out what you want to do with your life, what college you're going to go to, what career you're going to have, and you'd be finding all those out basically starting in middle school. So I was always searching for something like that, especially when I got to Running Start and was doing college classes. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life, to make something of myself, and nothing just ever felt right. I didn't have a passion or a drive for any of those things. Nothing ever clicked or stuck. And then Justin and I got married, and when we got married we had been together for 4 years, so we felt like we had had a lot of time together. And marriage was different, of course, and really exciting, but we felt like we had had a lot of time together and we both wanted to be parents. So 2 months in to the marriage, or maybe 1 month into the marriage, I think we decided to try to have a baby, and we got pregnant on the first try, and that's Grayson. Anyway, so my point in that is that I always knew I wanted to be a mom, and in my older teen years I had it on my heart to one day adopt. But it always felt like a very far off, distant thing, because it's a really intense, really expensive decision and process, and I just assumed that that was something that would be years and years and years down the road. And I had no idea how we would pay for that, and I didn't even know if it was possible, but I really wanted to be able to do it, either domestically or internationally. Both are almost just as expensive, which is crazy. Anyways, and Justin had a similar heart for adoption, I would say, maybe not quite to the intensity of mine, which I think is probably fairly common. I'm sure there are husbands who are like just as excited and into it as the wife initially, but in our case, Justin was completely open to it. He knew the Lord calls us to it as Christians. Obviously he loves kids and has a father's heart, so he was completely open to it, but not with the same like nurturing motherly love that I have, because he's not a mother, so that's completely understandable. Anyways, so on our heart was adoption, but we knew it was far off, and thought it was far off, and knew it was expensive. And then in the last few years we've had a few more conversations about it, and in my mind I had started entertaining the idea of foster care, because there's these kids out there that, well, first of all, I started entertaining the idea when I was more realistically thinking about adoption and how are we ever going to pay for this. And one of the most inexpensive ways to do so is to go through the foster care system, which is never a guarantee, but if you are able to adopt through the foster care system, it's much less expensive. So foster care was then on my heart, and then I just started thinking in more recent months started thinking more heavily on it, and then even in the last few weeks, Justin and I started talking about it together. And initially he was closed off to the idea of foster care because he didn't have a good experience with foster care growing up. He was a foster family, not in foster care. His family hosted foster kids. They were foster parents, his parents. And so he saw kids coming through there, and it was really hard on their family. But they were doing older kids, almost teenagers, preteen, I think, and they were doing level 3 and 4 kids, which are the kids that have like the higher behavioral issues and have seen more trauma. So of course that's going to be a completely different experience than the one that we would be hoping for, because we wouldn't do older kids and we wouldn't do level 3s and 4s. So once we talked that out, then he was completely on board with it, with foster care. And at this point, my heart was turning less from like, let's do it so we can adopt a baby, and more towards, let's do it so we can serve these kids who need to be loved on, that don't have parents. But at this point, we still thought this was a future thing. We still thought this was long off, few years away at least. Maybe when we were done having all of our kids, biological kids, which we are and have been envisioning 1 to 2 more. And when our kids were a little bit older and could handle it better, when I had a better handle on life with all these kids. So it just felt like a future thing to us when we considered our own situation and our own selfish desires, essentially. And then the Lord just suddenly really pressed it on my heart to start considering it for now. To not be a future thing, but for something that we dove into right now. And that was really scary. It brings up a lot of selfishness for sure, because there's a million and one reasons not to do it. Right now, I'm tired. I'm nursing a baby in the middle of the night. 3 kids in general is a lot for one mom. I have a husband who's gone 60 hours a week. I have anxiety, so I can tend to get overwhelmed easily, and thankfully I don't feel like that spills over onto my kids very much, but it is something that I deal with and kind of internalize and take to the Lord, and it is difficult. Our car will be really crammed full of car seats because we don't have the older kids that are out of car seats. Like, every kid is in a car seat. So there's that. There's just the fact that it will change our family dynamic, and it won't just be me and my biological children anymore. It'll take away from the little time that Justin and I have. I mean, I could go on and on with reasons not to do it, and they're all the selfish ones. But not a single one of those can outweigh the reasons to do it. Not even come close. These kids, they don't have homes. And unfortunately in Washington State, the foster care system is really broken. My phone died. So I had to go get my charger and let it charge for a couple minutes. Anyways, as I was saying, the foster care system in Washington State is really broken. It's not accommodating to foster families at all. The people that are doing the fostering of these kids, they are feeling unsupported, disrespected. It's not being made easy on them. They're not getting the support that they need. As much as people may want to help them, as much as these private agencies especially are wanting to help these families, the state, on the state's end, it's just not happening. So families are actually pulling out. Like, that's how bad it is. That these families that I imagine love doing what they do and feel called to do it, they're pulling out because of how rough it is. So that's leaving even more kids who need homes, temporary, long-term, maybe coming open for adoption because they will never go back to their parents. It's gotten so bad that these social workers that take in these kids initially and then scramble to find them homes, or get a call that they're going to need to go pick the kid up, and so before they pick the kid up they're scrambling to find a home. They're not able to find them homes, and then they are having to babysit these kids in their offices while they're doing their work. They're having to stay with them in hotels at night because their home hasn't been approved for them to foster, so they have to stay in a hotel. It's just a mess, and there's a lot of need. These kids are coming from so much trauma, so much abuse most of the time. And even if it's not an abusive situation, the simple fact that they're being taken from their parents for whatever the reason may be, it causes trauma to them. It causes heartbreak. It causes grief. Even when they're really little, like infants, it's really hard on them. And so not only do we need more foster families in the country and in Washington State specifically, but we need more loving, kind, genuinely warm, God-loving foster families that will take these kids in. One of the biggest things you hear about fostering is that, oh, I could never do that because I would get too attached, and then the kid has to leave. But that is literally the entire point of foster care. Kids in general, they have to learn attachment when they're really little. And if you don't learn attachment when you're little, the chances that you will ever learn it as an adult are very, very, very slim. And that will mess you up for life and cause so many issues. So these kids, that's literally what they need, is for you to attach to them and them to attach to you, and you to fall madly in love with them and give them everything you have. Give them your whole heart. And hope and pray for reunification, to be quite honest, that they would be reunified with their family, that you would see restoration in their mom or their dad or both, whatever the case may be. It gives you an opportunity to champion alongside these moms and dads that most oftentimes are fighting hard to get their kids back because they love their kids. So it opens up a door for that, to be able to build these relationships with these adults that probably don't have people in their lives that are supporting them and spurring them on. So that's something in and of itself that's really amazing. Anyway, so there's these kids out there that need this. And then there's my family. First of all, I'm sitting in the nursery, which you can't tell because of this angle, but it's probably like the most decorated, that is the most decorated bedroom. And it doesn't get used. It holds Weston's clothes in the closet. There's a crib over here that he doesn't sleep in. There's a changing table over here that just holds his diapers and stuff. It doesn't get used. It was getting used when he was sleeping in here, but he's back in our bed. So this room does not get used, really. And then we have a playroom that is just like completely full of toys that I keep cleaning out and I keep donating because the kids don't need that many toys. So it's decent right now. But we have that whole playroom, and the kids oftentimes don't even play in it. Most of the time they just bring the few toys that they really like and play with them downstairs. So they're not even really playing in that. And then Grayson and Hudson, they share a room, and Justin and I and Weston sleep in the master, which is really big. There's even there's like Weston's bed in there, and then there's another cot for Grayson to sleep in because he still comes in the middle of the night to sleep in a room. Downstairs we have 2 living spaces and an open kitchen. Outside we have a really big backyard. When you first walk out into our backyard, it doesn't look that big, but then if you walk on either side of the house, there's these really wide and kind of long areas on either side of the house. We have a lot of space, and I'm a stay-at-home mom. My husband is able to completely support us. We aren't living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, yes, things are tight and we have to be wise with our money, but we're also able to do, like, because we plan things out, we're able to do like really extra things that are not necessary. So while in the month it may feel like we're living paycheck to paycheck, we're absolutely not, because of all the... My phone cut me off again because I'm recording this on my phone, and apparently I can only record for like 6.5 minutes. the last thing I was saying was that we are not truly living paycheck to paycheck. We budget. So we live on a budget, but that's just a wise thing, not a, like, we have no money, how are we gonna make it this month thing, by any means. And then there's these kids out there who just want to be loved on. Like, yes, here in my home, I have 3 kids of my own. I've got a 5-year-old, I've got a 2.5-year-old, and I've got a 6-month-old. So, am I stretched thin? Yeah. Am I really tired? Yes. I get anxious a lot, and I get overwhelmed. And some days are really hard with the 3 kids, and Justin being gone so much. It's exhausting. And while I might not seem like the ideal time to move forward with something like this, there's kids out there that have it so much worse, that don't have the things that we have, that don't have the family that we have, that don't have the love in their lives like they have. And these kids don't need me to be perfect. They don't need me to be fearless. They don't need me to have it all together. They just need me to love them, and I feel like that's something that I can do. Absolutely. I feel like I have more than enough love to give to more children, even ones that aren't my own. And they need a warm home a roof over their head, need a warm bed to sleep in at night, they need good food on the table in their bellies, they need consistency, they need to know that we're going to be here with them every single day that they're in our care, for however long the Lord allows for that. They need to know that we're going to be there for them, loving them, taking care of them, cherishing them, attaching to them. They need that consistency and predictability and routine, and to not be living in fear of their next meal, or having to meet another new face, enter another home. And I feel like we can provide that for them. And above all those things, they need to know the love of the Lord. They need to know that there is a Father who loves them and cherishes them, who takes delight in them, who finds so much joy in them. A Father that sees their pain, that sees their situation, that sees their trauma, that sees their little hearts breaking, even when they're so tiny. They need to know that it's not God's fault, that He's not doing this to them, that He's not doing this because of something the little kids did, that it's not their fault, and that it's not God's fault, and they live in a broken world where stuff like this happens. But that God desires to be that Father to them, and to love on them, and to scoop them up and cradle them in His arms. And we have that knowledge, Justin and I and our boys. We know this, and we can impart that knowledge to them through our words, but even more importantly through our actions. By loving on them, they will absolutely see Jesus in action, and we'll make sure that they know that it's because of Jesus that we love them the way that we do. So, all that to say, in case you couldn't guess by now, Justin and I are going to become foster parents. We started the process yesterday. I sent an email a couple nights prior inquiring about the process to a private Christian agency in Tacoma called Olive Crest. And she called me back yesterday morning, and then I called her back in the afternoon because I couldn't talk at that time, and it was like a 10 to 15 minute chat where she asked basic questions about us: our name, number, where we live, how many kids we have, what are their ages, what do we do for a living, those kinds of practical things. And then she also asked our heart for adoption, like our foster care, like how did we come to this decision, what was the journey that led us there. So So I shared my heart with her, and she seemed to be really moved by that, which was encouraging. I was nervous for the phone call, for sure, but it went really well, and I left it feeling really excited and really encouraged and really scared. This is honestly a really scary situation. Justin and I have been talking about how in our married life, we've never really had to do anything, like make a really big decision that required us like completely relying on the Lord for like every step, every breath in the situation, not having any idea what it would look like. We've never like moved away from all of our family and just left everything behind and didn't know what we were getting into. He's never quit a job to start, he's never really quit a job to start a new one. He's worked at Office Depot our entire marriage. So we haven't had any that kind of leap of faith. We've just never had to do anything where we're like, Lord, we have no idea what this is going to look like, but we're trusting in you that you have led us to this, that you have called us to this, which he absolutely has. It is in the Bible. We're called to care for the orphans and the widows. So this isn't even necessarily a situation of like, oh, well, I need to pray about it and see if this is what God's asking of me. It's like he's already told us in his word. He's already laid it out clearly. So yes, we absolutely feel called to this. And it will be the first thing that we are just jumping into somewhat blind. I mean, we'll have training and we'll gather as much information as we can, but this is going to open an entirely new world for us and change the trajectory of our life forever, I would imagine. It's going to change the everyday. Okay, you're making a video explaining something. It's going to change our everyday life. It's going to be completely different season for us, and we don't know what it looks like, and we are scared and maybe a little terrified. So it is something that we have to be in constant reliance on the Lord for, to get us through and to give us peace about it, and just relying on him for every next step throughout the process. And then once we actually are caring for these kids, relying on him for that whole process in our hearts and their hearts, and the reunification with their parents and what that might look like. I love you. I'm making a video explaining something that I might share with their friends on the internet. Do you know people do that? People make videos and they post them online about different things in their lives. So Mommy's gonna do that.
Oh.
Yeah. Gonna go back downstairs?
No.
Hmm?
No.
Oh, what are you gonna do? Hang out back there? What are you doing?
I'm gonna play in my room.
Oh, okay. Can you close that door? Thank you. Anyways, so yeah, it's a big step. Requires complete trust in the Lord that he will get us through every day, all the uncertainties. I mean, we cannot there's no way to foresee every little circumstance that's going to arise and how we'll handle it. There's just no way. So it's a huge step in faith, and it doesn't make it less scary necessarily, but it gives us peace about it, which is the wonderful thing about the Lord, is there can still be so many fears in a situation, but yet like peace in your soul, because you know where your hope comes from, you know where your joy comes from, and we know that this life is not about us. We were not put here for our own comforts and to build this wonderful life and have these nice things and have a big house and have the dream job and have extra money so we can do fun things. None of those things in and of themselves are bad, but that is not why we were put on earth. That is not God's primary concern, is not our comfort and our material things and how successful we are. So the fact that this will be a way to truly deny our own comfortability, our selfish desires, and make us look more like Jesus. The idea of that is very scary and very exciting to me, and I feel really grateful and honored to be diving into this. Is Weston awake?
I hear.
If he's still crying, can you go sit with him for a few minutes? I'm almost done.
Where do you put the arms?
I'm not sure, baby. I'll help you in a few minutes, okay? I keep having to restart these videos, so it's probably gonna look super choppy, and I don't know, I've probably lost my train of thought 20 times. Anyways, yes, it's an exciting season. It's a scary season. We're looking forward to it. It's going to take about 4 to 6 months to become licensed. There's a lot that goes into it. When you put the steps into bigger chunks, it doesn't sound like it's that hard, but there's quite a lot involved. Just this initial packet that we have to fill out is really daunting. There's a lot of information that we have to fill out. There's a lot of signing to do. So it's going to be a big process. We're doing our training next month, so there'll be 4 8-hour days of training next month, and then a CPR class in the middle of that that we'll be doing. And then I'll update as we go on with the different steps, but for now that's what we know. We're going to work on filling out this paperwork, which is going to be a lot. It's going to take a while. Like, that in and of itself will be a miracle when we've accomplished that with these 3 kids around and Justin being gone so much. But yeah, so I guess my heart in making these videos is to, for one, it'll be good for me. It's a way to process what I'm dealing with and going through, and just be able to get what's in my heart out in words. I think that's good and therapeutic. And 2, to share what the Lord is doing in my heart with other people, because I think that that's always an encouragement when you can hear from somebody else how the Lord is working in their lives and in their hearts, and how he's changing them and refining them and making them more like Jesus, which I have a long way to go on. And then 3, to possibly be an encouragement to other families like us that have maybe considered foster care before but weren't sure if they were cut out for it, or sure if it was the right timing, maybe have some of the same fears and selfish desires that we have. If I could encourage even one family to even consider foster care, that would be incredible. So that's my heart for these videos. I intend to make more. I do want to document this. I considered a blog, but because I love writing and I think I write better than I talk, especially right now with mommy brain. But a blog, I think, will take more of my time sitting down and trying to get all those words typed out. So I thought sitting down and talking would be easier for me. So I do intend to make more of these in the future. They're not going to be really well edited or fancy, not the great lighting. I'm probably going to look like this.
It's really loud in here.
Okay, please go sit with him for a few more minutes, okay? I'm almost done. There will be plenty of that interruption because I do have 3 kids. Anyways, yeah, so I'm hoping to make more of these videos, and I think it'll be a neat way to share with family and friends what the Lord's doing in our hearts. I don't expect them to go anywhere. I'm not trying to make money on YouTube or anything like that. I just want to share my heart with people and encourage people, and hopefully be encouraged back by hearing other people's stories and what's on other people's hearts. I love that as well. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me and to care to listen to what's going on in our lives. Yes, Gracie? Okay. Can you just go stand over there and make sure he doesn't fall off the bed, though? Thank you. Okay, just be really quiet. Go in there, please, so he doesn't fall off the bed. Thank you. Yeah, so thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. I hope you continue to watch and want to be updated on this. I hope it's an encouragement to you, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, bye.